A major ruling against both P. Diddy and Jay-Z, as a judge rules a rape accuser can remain anonymous, at least for now. And the judge gets spicy in her ruling too, calling out Jay-Z's attorney for filing what she says is a litany of motion.
For years, people have seen Diddy and Jay-Z as the perfect example of success. Two men who rose from the streets to the top of the world. They weren't just rappers, they were kings.
For the past 3 months now. That's because he faces federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. But Diddy's fall from grace came far before his September arrest, but rather last November, when the first civil suit against him was filed alleging sexual abuse. Since then, there have been almost too many civil lawsuits to keep up with, and another high-profile name has recently made its way into a filing: Jay-Z. Sean Carter, Beyonce's husband, whatever you know him as, is now accused of raping a 13-year-old girl at one of P. Diddy's parties. We reported on this specific lawsuit back when it was filed in October, but here's a quick refresher. The woman who filed this civil suit is listed only as Jane Doe. She hasn't revealed her true identity and doesn't have to, at least for now, but more on that later. Now, Jane Doe says she met Diddy's limo driver outside the MTV Video Music Awards in September 2000. He told her, quote, Combs liked younger girls and said she'll fit what Diddy was looking for, not allowing her into the awards, but inviting her to an after party. Later that night, the driver brought her to a large white house that was behind a gated fence, and inside, she saw multiple celebrities she recognized, and of course, P. Diddy. According to her suit, once inside, two men asked plaintiff, that's Jane Doe, to sign a non-disclosure agreement, informing her that she could not discuss what happened at the party. She gave them her name and signed the form, but did not receive a copy. Eventually, Jane Doe accepted a drink at this party. She says it was a reddish-yellow mixture and tasted like orange juice, cranberry juice, and something else bitter mixed in. Jane Doe now believes Diddy or one of his associates slipped something into her drink. After all of this, Jane Doe had some of the drink. She says she started feeling woozy and wanted to lie down. So she went into what she thought was an empty room, but did not lock the door. The next part is a direct quote from Jane Doe's lawsuit, and it's pretty disturbing, quote, Soon after, Combs, along with a male and female celebrity, entered the room. Combs aggressively rumblings that celebrity B is actually Jennifer Lopez, who was Diddy's girlfriend at the time, but that has not been confirmed. What has been confirmed, though, at least according to Jane Doe, is that celebrity A is Jay-Z. In December, Jane Doe amended her lawsuit to publicly name Jay-Z, alleging he raped her that night. And again, reminder, she's only 13 at the time. Jay-Z completely denies these allegations. He's made a motion earlier this month even for Jane Doe to reveal her identity. And that's not the first time we've seen this tactic, and the last time it actually worked. We reported on this too. The original Jane Doe, who filed civil suit against Diddy in late 2023, the one who included pictures in her lawsuit, was just recently ordered to reveal her name publicly. And that's when we learned that Jane Doe is actually Anna Kane. She's known mostly as the ex-wife of hockey player Evander Kane. So following this same pattern, Jay-Z's team filed a motion demanding Jane Doe make her name public. Here's what his team wrote. Admissions by the plaintiff, meaning Jane Doe, and damning admissions by her own father in a December 13 revelatory NBC interview cast yet further doubt on a claim that was obviously false from the start. The timeline, location, and occurrence of events alleged in plaintiff's complaint are rendered impossible by these admissions. She claims her father picked her up after the assault, and this next part they mean to write, he took a 5-hour trip. She claims she spoke with musician Benji Madden that night. He was not even in New York. She claims the assault took place at an after-party hosted in a private residence. Photos show Mr. Carter at an
entrepreneurs, visionaries, the faces of ambition, luxury, and legacy. But behind that polished image, behind the music, the brands, and the billion-dollar headlines, there's a darker story now coming to light. The hidden truth about Diddy and Jay-Z, their disturbing secrets, secret connections, and the web of power they've quietly built in the shadows, is finally starting to unravel. This isn't just about fame. It's not just about money. It's about manipulation, silence, and control. A world of secrets that was never meant to be revealed. From the outside, Diddy and Jay-Z seemed unstoppable. They played the game flawlessly. Two giants who turned hustle into empires. But insiders have long said something about their partnership felt off. Something deeper than friendship, more complicated than rivalry. Now, whispers from behind the scenes are painting a picture far darker than anyone ever imagined. It all begins with power, and how both men learned early on that power in the music industry wasn't just about talent. It was about leverage, about knowing who owed who, and who could be silenced.
After party at a nightclub. When pressed by NBC, plaintiff was forced to admit, "I've made some mistakes. I may have made a mistake in identifying. Not all faces there are as clear," and even that she was guessing about key details, including the time it took to reach the venue. What is more, she admits she does not have a single corroborating witness over the last 24 years. In this motion, Jay-Z's team calls for an immediate preservation order, suggesting that Tony Busby, Jane Doe's attorney, could destroy key evidence in the case. The filing even says there's a substantial risk that this may happen. So Jay-Z wants this preservation order, but if not that, he wants the lawsuit completely thrown out and dismissed. But the judge wasn't going for it. This is the spicy part of the motion we mentioned earlier. To start, she broke down the criteria for keeping a plaintiff's name out of a lawsuit, saying there are several key factors in play in Jane Doe's case. One, whether the litigation involves matters that are highly sensitive and of a personal nature. Two, whether identification poses a risk of retaliatory physical or mental harm to the party seeking to proceed anonymously, or even more critically, to innocent non-parties. Another risk, whether the plaintiff is particularly vulnerable to the possible harms of disclosure, particularly in light of her age, and whether the plaintiff's identity has thus far been kept confidential. Now, the motion lays out the pros and cons of keeping Jane Doe's name quiet. The judge notes, most importantly, plaintiff's continued anonymity may cause prejudice to defendants, making it more difficult for them to collect the facts necessary to mount a defense and, as appropriate, challenge plaintiff's credibility. But she says, nevertheless, at this exceedingly early stage in this case, the factors counseling against disclosure outweigh those that counsel in favor. So the judge granted Jane Doe's motion to remain anonymous, at least for now. She does note, though, that the court intends to revisit this decision at a future date. After all this, the judge addresses Jay-Z's prior motion and basically calls out his defense team. She says they have, quote, submitted a litany of letters and motions attempting to impugn the character of plaintiff's lawyer, many of them expounding on the purported urgency of this case. This next part is extra fiery. Quote, Carter's lawyers' relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources and a tactic unlikely to benefit his clients. The court will not fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. So we've gone through the motion and the ruling on paper, but what does all of that really mean? So we're joined now by criminal defense attorney Adam Conta to take a closer look at the judge's ruling. Now, Adam, is this a win for Jane Doe, do you think, to remain anonymous?
Yeah, it's a win for Jane Doe, certainly, but it's like a short win. It's really much more of a loss for the legal team of Jay-Z and Diddy.
Why would you say that? Because the judge was kind of harsh to Jay-Z and Diddy in her response?
Yeah, this is sort of like, you know, if a child asks you for something and you're trying to like teach them a lesson, you say, no, not right now. You know, go be good for a little while, then come back and ask me again. That is almost exactly what Judge Annalisa Torres did here. She wanted to send a message directly to Alex Spiro, who is obviously one of the most prolific attorneys in the country right now. I've known him for 20 years. He started as a DA in Manhattan. I knew him as a DA in Manhattan. I had cases against him as a DA in Manhattan. And he's gone on to do incredible things. But he has a very specific style. And there's a lot of people who don't like that style. And Judge Torres is one of them. He's now twice kind of taken the reins and tried to take control of the narrative of cases by putting on sort of these preemptive press conferences. He did it with Mayor Adams, and he did it now with Jay-Z, where he goes to the press and essentially puts on a PowerPoint and says, hey, this is why I think this case is garbage.
In the 90s, Diddy ran Bad Boy Records, an empire built on both success and fear. Jay-Z watched, learned, and used those same tactics to build Rockefeller. Loyalty through control, silence through influence. Together, they understood one powerful truth. The key to staying on top is knowing everyone's secrets. And that's where things start to get unsettling. For years, Diddy's name has been surrounded by rumors. Stories of manipulation, wild parties, strange disappearances, and a pattern of people who either faded from the spotlight or stopped speaking publicly altogether. Now, with new investigations into his private life, those rumors are gaining attention. Industry insiders say what went on behind closed doors wasn't just about entertainment. It was about collecting secrets, moments caught on camera, conversations recorded, and relationships used as leverage. And according to those same sources, Jay-Z wasn't just aware of it. He was part of that same world. The connection between Diddy and Jay-Z has always been deeper than most people realize. They moved in the same circles and shared the same powerful backers.
Listed only as a well-known woman lived. Combs was dating Jennifer Lopez at the time. She is not named in the lawsuit. The woman claims in the suit that Combs told her she should get in his car, and that the two men who worked with him were there. She claims she was reluctant, but eventually got in, but the car didn't go to her home. She said she was offered a drink to calm her nerves, but it made her groggy. The suit claims she was sexually assaulted and taken home and left in the lobby of her building. Sean Combs' lawyers are denying the latest claims, as they have denied the claims in many other civil lawsuits. They said, no matter how many lawsuits are filed, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor. Now to Jay-Z and the latest with him. Ever since he was officially named in the lawsuit, things have been kind of crazy, with a legal war of words between his lawyer, Alex Spiro, and the accuser's lawyer, Tony Busby. Jay-Z, whose legal name is Sean Carter, is being sued civilly by a Jane Doe from Alabama, who claims Sean Combs and Jay-Z sexually assaulted her at a VMA's after party in the year 2000. Just a quick recap on that case. The woman said she went to Radio City Music Hall because the MTV Video Music Awards were taking place there. Inside, it was a big night for Sean Combs' then-girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, who won the VMA for Best Dance Music Video. The accuser was 13 at the time. She said she didn't have a ticket, so she hung out outside of Radio City Music Hall with limo drivers. One convinced her to go to a house for an after party. The woman said a lot of celebrities were at this house and that she drank something that made her feel woozy, and she found a bedroom where she laid down. The suit states, soon after, Combs entered the room along with defendant Carter and a female celebrity, Celebrity B. Plaintiff immediately recognized all three celebrities. Combs aggressively approached plaintiff with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her and said, "You are ready to party." Combs then threw plaintiff toward a wall, causing plaintiff to fall. Plaintiff got up and stumbled, at which point Combs grabbed her again and threw her on the bed. At that point, Carter began removing plaintiff's clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. Plaintiff was held down by Carter as he vaginally raped her, while Combs and Celebrity B watched. After Carter finished, he stepped back toward the wall. Combs then stepped forward and vaginally raped plaintiff while Carter and Celebrity B watched. Combs then knocked plaintiff down and attempted to force plaintiff to perform oral sex on him. She fought back, standing up quickly and punching out at the same time, hitting Combs in the neck. Taken aback, Combs stopped his attempt. Now, Jay-Z has vehemently denied these allegations, and since the suit was filed, there have been inconsistencies that have emerged in the woman's story, including the fact that she claimed her dad picked her up that night, but he told NBC News he doesn't remember doing that and it would have taken him hours to drive to pick her up. And the woman claims she talked to Benji Madden at the party, but he was on tour in the Midwest at the time. Well, an old friend of Jay-Z's, who has a complicated past with him, is now coming to his defense. Rapper Beanie Sigel says the woman should have to reveal her name. Right now, a judge is allowing her to remain anonymous. Sigel and Jay-Z were both artists on Rockefeller Records back in the early aughts. Jay-Z was a partial owner of that label. The two had a falling out. Then Sigel recorded a diss track about Jay-Z in 2009, but the two have since smoothed things over. Now Sigel has spoken out about the lawsuit where Jay-Z is being sued along with Sean Combs by that woman identified right now only as Jane Doe. She claims Jay-Z and Sean Combs raped her at that VMA party back in 2000. Well, Sigel talked about the claim on the Art of Dialogue YouTube channel recently.
You got people like me.
The walls are closing in, and the truth that once hid behind fame and fortune is finally breaking through. The empire they built on power and silence may not stand much longer. The question now isn't if the truth will come out, it's when. Stay tuned, because what's revealed next could change everything you thought you knew.